Greetings F1 enjoyers and welcome to the Hungarian Grand Prix where Charles Lecerc is on pole instead of Piastri or Norris. This is also the last F1 race before the summer break begins, but we will be going back to Formula 1 on August 31st. But anyways, the Hungarian Grand Prix begins with the usual formation lap to get to the grid and Charles Lecerc jumping to the lead. Wait, what? It's usually a McLaren driver that jumps to the lead, but this time it's a Ferrari! Though Norris had a terrible start. George Russell also jumped up to third while Piastri remained in second. Norris just jumped up to fourth after overtaking Alonso. Verstappen is also trying to get ahead. Oh, and don't expect Verstappen to move over to Mercedes next year as he's staying in Red Bull. Yeah, even though the situation of Red Bull is not looking very good, Verstappen still wants to stay at Red Bull. I've never seen a driver that's determined to stay in his own team as much as Verstappen and Danny Hamlin, who, stayed in Joe Gibbs Racing throughout his whole entire career. Jeez. That is dedication. Bortoleto blocks Verstappen and defends 6 from him. He might also get a penalty for jumping to start. Norris also got the fastest lap of the race so far. So far, not much is going on, and Verstappen still hasn't figured out a way to get past Bortoleto. Bortoleto also didn't get penalized. Russell still manages to keep Norris at bay. Hulkenberg and Colapinto make their pit stops, and are the first 2 drivers to come down to pit road. Next to join in are Ocon and Albon. Expect to see the leaders make their pit stops. Sainz is next to come down to pit road. A few laps later, Verstappen is next to join in. Told you so, Piastri is next to come down to pit road, though Norris decided to stay out and do another one-stop strategy. This is why Monaco has the mandatory 2 stops, because Formula 1 should not be about one driver making one single pit stop and making the friggin' tires last to infinity. Because, well, Formula 1 is all about pit strategy, the pit stops are supposed to keep the other drivers at bay, and if a 2-stop were to be required for Hungary and other tracks, then other drivers would get a chance to win. Yeah. Though Leclerc stays out until he too makes a pit stop, and Norris still stays out. He no longer has the lead as Norris is now in the lead. Dang, so much for Ferrari winning this one. And of course, people are trying to figure out how McLaren is winning so freaking much. Piastri manages to overtake Alonso for third. Antonelli is next to come down to pit road. Hamilton is currently running in 11th. Verstappen finally manages to overtake one of the Saubers, although it's not Bortoleto, it's Hulkenberg, and is currently running in 13th. And we might get the one-stop strategy again. Another track that needs the mandatory 2-stop rule. Verstappen and Hamilton battle for 11th, and Verstappen forces Hamilton to go off track and manages to overtake 11th from him. Holy crapper, we get some excitement. Yeah, he did a Jesse Love. Forced another driver to go up high, though with Verstappen, he'd most likely get a penalty because of the stewards. That's how Formula 1 works. Norris decides to come down to pit road and Leclerc is back in the lead. The stewards are investigating Verstappen's incident with Hamilton, where Hamilton was forced off track. Hamilton is now alive, and Verstappen now has a 5-second penalty for the incident. Yeah, because Verstappen does get penalties for being too aggressive. Alonso comes down to pit road and has made the decision to cover off Lando Norris. Leclerc is next to come down to pit road. Bortoleto is next to come down to pit road and his teammate comes down a lap later. Hamilton is next to come down to pit road and has fallen back to 14th. Russell also decided to join in. Antonelli overtakes Sainz for 10th. Piastri makes his next pit stop. Verstappen decides to make another pit stop on lap 49 and manages to hold off Antonelli. Oh, come on! Piastri manages to overtake Leclerc. Dang it! I so wanted Leclerc to win. Sainz makes another pit stop right when it cuts to commercial. Dang it, TSN. Contact ensues with Hulkenberg and Tsunoda. Leclerc holds off Russell for third. Yes. Don't let him get past you. Leclerc and Russell fight for third, and there goes Leclerc's podium finish. Dang it! A double whammy for sure. I hope that Ferrari wins the next GP. To make matters worse, Leclerc is also under investigation by the stewards. Piastri is coming closer to Norris, and the battle for the lead gets intense. Pierre Gasly also gets penalized for causing a collision. Piastri lunges and tries to overtake Norris, but he locks up. On the final lap, Piastri gets another chance, but he still can't overtake him for the lead. Leclerc also gets penalized, which means that things aren't looking good for him. It's disappointing as he got a surprise pole. But anyways, we got another McLaren win. Whoop-de-frickin-do. Aside from an intense battle for the lead, this year's Hungarian Grand Prix still gets a 7 out of 10, as by this point, seeing McLaren win nearly every race is starting to get old, though it's Norris instead of Piastri, the one who I wanted to win. Yeah, Lando Norris. They just keep winning and winning. After that, we get driver interviews, driver talk in the cool-down room, and the winning driver's national anthem that plays in the podium. But anyways, here's some bonus content for ya. Alrighty, so I got more of the infamous LEGO Formula 1 minifigure sets. Even though they're not really minifigures, they're more like the Zalaxians or tiny turbos from the LEGO Racer sets. Let's see what we get. Yeah, it looks like we got something different this time around. Oops. Almost fell off. Not to worry. If it falls off, it's okay. Because I can always try to find it. That is if it doesn't disappear into the void. Man, it's hard to do this with one hand. Here we go. Yeah, this is basically the generic Formula 1 livery car. Kind of like how the F1 Academy also has a generic F1 Academy car. Yeah. The LEGO minifigure sets also don't tell you which minifigures are common or uncommon or rare. But I guess that they do that intentionally so that they could actually surprise you. Which makes sense, if you ask me. Yeah, I basically point that out because I do know that the Mega Bloks minifigure sets had indications on if a certain minifigure is common, uncommon, or rare or ultra rare. But LEGO doesn't do that. And I can kind of see why. Yeah, you want to actually keep people surprised. Because it's supposed to be a blind bag. Having LEGO tell people that if a certain minifigure is common, uncommon, or rare or ultra rare kind of kills the suspense and the surprise. So I can see why they don't do that. Yeah, these are basically set fillers. Because, well, it's only a handful of Formula One teams on the grid right now, and Cadillac isn't part of the grid. Well, at least not until 2026, which is next year. So yeah, got a bit of time to wait until Cadillac appears on the grid. Cadillac, shiny and black. Yeah, this is basically bonus content for the Hungarian Grand Prix race review. There. Here we go. They could have had legendary Formula One drivers in the minifigure packs. That's one rant that I have to basically point out. Like, having legendary drivers would have been a... Whoops, I accidentally hit button on the camera, the menu button. Anyways, having legendary drivers would have been a good way to entice people into buying these minifigure sets. Come on, focus, focus. Jeez. Yeah. There it is. Yeah, it kind of looks like late 90s and early to mid 2000s McLaren because of the silver, black, and red. Yeah, it's more akin to Lewis Hamilton's first McLaren car, but it's supposed to be a generic Formula One livery. Let's see what's in the other box, shall we? And it's the same one. Yeah, I got the same car. Yeesh. Yeah, sometimes you get snake eyes with these sets. It's literally the same car. See? Yeah, I got snake eyes. Yeah, I was hoping for a different car, but that's how it goes with some of these minifigure sets. But I still got another car to add to my collection. Anyways, I'm going to sign off. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell just in case you haven't already done so. Catch you guys next time, and peace out.